I am a candidate to become a professional Scrum trainer for Scrum.org. Part of that is having a very solid knowledge of the Scrum framework and being able to explain why it is what it is. I'm making a series of online presentations to practice this, with the hope that it will be useful to you. Today, I will investigate the concept of transparency in the Scrum Guide, specifically what aspects make each artifact transparent. Increment. The product increment is your potentially releasable product. It comprises the sum of all the increments of this sprint and all the sprints in the past. The increment is transparent in two ways. The degree to which the increment is what everyone, so the development team, product owner, and stakeholders, including customers, expects it to be in the present, and how much it differs from expectations in the future, represented by the product backlog and sprint backlog. The present. Many things can affect the transparency of the increment. Technical debt, for example, in software, but also the complexity of the product, degrading of knowledge about the product, or even just the development team's memory of the product. The key to transparency is inspecting the increment to know how to adapt. This can be done in many ways, but always involve testing. User testing, release the increment to customers and expect the interaction. In most cases that may be unethical or impossible, for example the firmware on a pacemaker or the creation of a custom car seat, and so it should be preceded by regression testing, testing the increment by hand in circumstances closest to the customers, simulation or stress testing, testing the increment on a subset of fake customers, for example crash testing the car seat with a dummy, integration testing. Are all the parts of the increment working together as expected? Unit testing. Are all the internal workings of the increment still the same? Etc., etc., etc. Scrum takes a lot of testing, often as the first thing you do. Look up the complementary practices of test-driven development and behavior-driven development. Transparency by design. This includes many things: clean coding, visualizing early and often of the architecture, interface designs, customer journeys, or service maps. And documentation. Do not make reams of information beforehand that no one will read, but do organize what you have made so you or someone else will understand it later. Code commenting, front-end libraries, test scripts, and design principles are all examples of this, as long as it helps in the understanding of the increment. Too much or messy documentation can lower transparency and/or make empiricism difficult in the future. This is what makes done such an important concept. It is the agreement between the development team, the product owner, and the stakeholders and customers about what can be expected of the increment. All of the previous items would be things to include in a definition of done. High visibility and clarity can also lead to transparency. Consider making a wall chart of your definition of done in icons and plain language and take it to your retrospectives for inspection and adaptation. That way, the definition of done will continuously improve through empiricism too. Making this video was useful to me to become a better Scrum Master, and I couldn't have done it without the following people. If this video was useful to you, please share it. It may be useful to someone else, and let me know your reaction. Thanks.